Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my personal channel. My name is Nixon Kokubles, the CEO of the Kokubles Industry Spy Network. On my main channel, Kokubles Nation, last week, on Thursday, I somewhat announced that I would be doing this video. Now, you may be wondering, what? You can actually do music production on Linux? By golly, you can. And there's actually a lot of plugins already available for any Linux operating system. For this tutorial, however, I'm going to be showing you how to do this in an Ubuntu and or Debian based operating system. In my case, it's going to be Linux Mint, but you can do this on regular Ubuntu, Xubuntu, you can do this on Zorin, you can do this on Debian, you can do it on almost any Ubuntu-based distribution. First things first, we will type in the command groups. Now you'll see I'm already in the audio group, which is right here. But if you are not in the audio group, you will need to do a couple of things. First things first, you need to do sudo group add and then audio, and then enter your sudo password. You will see this error if the audio group already exists. In my case, it does. But if you do not have this error, that means you have just created the audio group. But the next step is to do sudo usermod dash lowercase a dash capital G, which means add to a group, audio, and then the easiest way to go about it, $ user in all caps. Once you hit enter, that means your user has now been added to the audio group. To confirm this, you will need to do groups pipe grep, which searches for text, and then audio. And if it does find audio, it will show up in a different color. In my case, it will show up red. That means not only did you create the audio group, but your user is now in the audio group. So we can clear that. The next step in this process is to do sudo apt install jackd2. Do not get jack1. For that was designed with older operating systems in mind. Jack 2 is designed for modern day operating systems such as, well, Linux Mint 21, the distribution in which I am using. Hit enter, enter your sudo password, and let your package manager do its thing. There is also going to be a configuration file that will be written inside of etc security limits.d. It will be called audio.conf, which is a monolithic configuration file. Basically, it is a file where you can edit things and adjust it to your liking. But for this purpose, and to run Jack properly, do not modify this file, unless you want to set the nice level to -19, which will be commented should you decide to nano to it. In fact, I'm going to do that now. So this is going to be the file at hand. And right here, you will see that you have a nice level of -19. And that's just going to be for the audio group. If you want to allow the nice level, you just have to get rid of this hashtag here, which is a comment according to these configuration files. But for the time being, just leave this as is. And then log out and log back in. The changes for the audio group will already be added. Now, if you do not see this, there's another way you can do this. You can do this file here, which is etc security limits.conf. You can use this same part and do the same things as in audio.conf inside of limit.d, simply by just doing add audio and then RT prio. That needs to be set to 95. Add audio again. and then memlock, if I can spell that right, which is set to unlimited. These are the configuration files required for Jack to work properly, and to be able to use pretty darn demanding audio applications like a DAW, for instance. I'm going to exit, I'm going to hit N, but if you do not see audio.conf inside of there, you can always change limits.conf inside of security under etc in order to make sure you get the proper permissions. And then log out, log back in, the changes will be made. Now, after this is done, you'll want to get your digital audio workstation of choice. There are a lot of open source options to choose from LMMS to QTractor, Muse, Ardor, Z-Rhythm. There's quite a few to choose from. Heck, if you want to go real old school, you can try your hand at using Rose Garden, which also has functionality just like, well, I don't know, MuseScore, I think? I'm not entirely sure about it. But that said, for this tutorial, I will be using Ardor. So that will be sudo apt install Ardor. I chose Ardor for this tutorial because, for those that aren't aware, I am currently in the process of doing a project of my own using this DAW and plugins associated for my work. But after you get Ardor, there is one more thing you're going to need to do. Head to LibreWolf and you'll do the KX Studio repositories. So you head to kx.studio, just like that, go into repositories, about and how to. This will be linked in the description below. And then follow these instructions here in order to get the KX Studio repositories.deb file. And yes, as you can see, it will work with Ubuntu 22.04 distributions. So you are all good there. As long as it is Debian 11 and or Ubuntu 20.04, you should be good there. Follow the instructions and then download the plugins from that. You can also use the Ubuntu Studio repositories, but if you just want the Ubuntu Studio repositories, you might as well just use Ubuntu Studio. I have not used it yet, nor am I actually going to use it since I like using Mint a lot. But that being said, that's the basic tutorial on how to get music production set up with Jack. Also, a bonus thing. Once you install Jack, another app will be installed as one of the packages for Jack, and that will be QJackCTL. Place in this command. You do not need it. And instead, you would be better off, I do not need that right now, you would be better off using something called Cadence, which is the Jack toolbox that I personally use. Since you have the KX Studio repositories, which are done by FalkTX, you will also be able to grab it using sudo apt install cadence. Now this is a little bit of a download and will download a few packages on your machine, but it will grab the cadence executable there alongside Katia, Claudia, and Claudia Launcher. But we just need to use cadence. So after you get cadence, we will launch it. And there are a few things to set up. So for my situation, I have my device and interface set to my microphone, which I am currently speaking into right now. It is a Samson CO1U Pro, for those unaware. I did announce that I got this new microphone, I think on a recent video called I Have an Idea for 200 Subscribers. I have it set to 48,000 Hz or 48 kilohertz as the sample rate, buffer size the 256, periods per buffer just the 2. This is what works for me. Just make sure you experiment with what you do, right? Experiment with whatever sound card you have. You do not want the X runs. So if I were to start Jack with this configuration, I will not have many X runs. So that is just one bonus thing to do. And you will need to use Jack if you want as low of latency as possible in order to run Ardor, for example, or LMMS with Jack, or Qtractor with Jack, or any DAW of your choice. For me, it'll be Ardor. But legitimately, ladies and gentlemen, I am out of time for today's tutorial on this channel. Thank you, and good night.